Let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's January 30th. This is Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Aaron Mays. I'm serving as chair, and I represent District 3. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. On my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Good morning to both of you.
Morning. Morning.
We've got our county clerk, Lisa Schmidt, down there, and our county councilor, Rich Eckert, at the other end. Good morning to both of you as well. Let's get started. First item, please.
All right, we're going to start with item 3, consent agenda.
We've got a number of items on the consent agenda this morning. If everybody's read those, is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Cook and a second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, county clerk. 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay, so Commissioner Rippon's eyes are still not up to speed, so I'm going to go ahead and do this again. Those are anti-reading glasses.
They have bifocals built in, but they're not made for me. I don't know.
So this morning we do have several items on here worth noting. The total for the vouchers is $3,800,856.79. The first item is to Bettis Asphalt for $490,000. That's for street projects in the Sherwood Improvement District. Those are funded by the Sherwood Improvement District. $364,232.04 to Foley Industries. It's for the purchase of equipment for Public Works, and that's funded by the Public Works Special Machinery Fund and the Capital Outlay Fund. We've got $154,629.75 to CDW Government, and that is for the renewal of the county computer security monitoring and security awareness software. $449,828.67 to Sinning Companies for courthouse renovations. That is paid with ARPA funds. $207,760.61 to Motorola Solutions, and that is for our annual payment for the system upgrade agreement for the Sheriff's Department, and that one is funded with 911 funds. If there's not any questions about any of this, I don't have any concerns with it, and I would move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
B, public works. 1, consider awarding bid to Diamond Vocal Incorporated of Orange City, Iowa for a total of 6,000 to 9,000 gallons of white and or yellow traffic line paint.
Courtney House, Director of Public Works. Normally, we used to get paint from Lansing. Last year, you allowed me to go out and work with Schwarco to buy some paint, traffic line paint. We actually got that paint at a lesser cost or a lower cost than what we were getting it from Lansing. This year, for the first time, we went out for bids, and we got a lot of interest. I was pleased about that. The lowest best bid was from Diamond Vogel, and I'd like to move forward with the award of that bid. I look forward to any questions that you have.
Not so much a question as just a statement that, I mean, these bids varied tremendously. There's one on here that's like almost 4 times what we paid, or what we're paying, so.
There was one bid, yeah, that was way out of line.
Yeah, well, that's good to see.
Mhm.
Is there a reason why this does not get bid at the same time as the glass beads? I mean, the two are kind of connected, aren't they?
My intent was to come before you at the very same time. But with the paint, there were a number of firms that I had not heard of before. And so I did some research, and that took some time, and so that's why the approval of paint was delayed by a couple weeks.
And this is just for the supplies, right? The paint itself?
This is the paint itself,
This is
that's
not for
correct.
the application of the paint, though?
Nope, that we would do that internally, and we have the equipment to place that paint.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
2, consider approval of contract C31-2025 to purchase a wreck replacement dump truck from Rush Truck Center of KC Mo using a governmental purchasing cooperative. The purchase will be funded using $200,000 from the Risk Management Reserve Fund and $18,412 from the Public Works Special Machinery Fund.
As I talked, Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works, as I talked about last Monday during the 14, 15-inch snow that we had, we lost a dump truck. It slid back into a ditch and rolled over. Fortunately, the driver was not seriously hurt, slightly banged up, but nothing serious, so we're grateful for that. But we need to replace that truck. We have 300 centerline miles of roads. That's just the county system. And then we also, of course, maintain Monmouth and Grove Township roads. And so we need to replace that truck. Hopefully we can get it replaced before next winter. And so I'm here before you with a Sourcewell bid. Now, I know you probably think Mr. Niehaus provides way too much data. But the reason I provided this data in here in this table is to show you that we are getting a competitive price using Sourcewell, both for the cab and chassis, which, yes, has increased in cost over the last few years, a couple years, but it's been a steady increase. Nothing extraordinary. And then for the dump body, plow, and sander, I wanted to show you again that we're getting good prices. Yes, the price is increasing, but it's not increasing any more than any of our other materials or equipment that we're using out on the roads. So with that, again, I look forward to your questions.
Questions?
Question, did we have any salvage from the truck?
We salvaged the plow and the sander. We're going to use that on the new truck. And then we salvaged a couple other minor components off the truck. We're going to sell the remnants on Purple Wave.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So I probably should read this more closely, but do you know when we're going to get this?
I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping we'll get it before Christmas. The suppliers tell us that the material and supply chain is kind of coming back to normal, pre-COVID normal. So I'm hoping we can get that truck late this year. If not, sooner the better. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No, I would move for approval.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
C, Department of Corrections, 1, consider approval to purchase Kubota utility vehicle on state contract from Can-Equip Incorporated for $54,090.53 to be paid from Inmate Benefit Fund and Detention Facility Projects Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I also have Major Tim Phelps here with any questions because he helped us research this. But long before, and I know this is an expensive piece of equipment, but long before this event, that the one we had here recently, we were looking at possibilities replacing the outdated equipment that we have. We have broken tractors that have not been, the parts are no longer there, snow blowers and things like that we've used. And we started researching this long before, but we were holding on to the equipment. Then this bigger issue came along. We did have inmate crews that were out, only to find out the equipment that we have was not even capable of moving small amounts of snow, even the sidewalks and things outside of just having somebody shovel the snow. So when we did we had a group meeting that was led by Director Angela Lewis, We started talking to other departments about what equipment do they use just in general snow removal and what they had in this pack here. Obviously, the big drifts and things like that, they had dump trucks or trucks, which we do have for those kind of things. But for the maneuverability in the parking lots, that which we did not have, or the sidewalks, because the equipment we have could not move it, we asked them what they were using, and we asked facilities manager Henning. Nelda had indicated, and I talked to Don Bell regarding what they have is a Kubota that's similar to this. They gave us the specs on this that has a cab to look at buying these types of accessories with the blade, a spreader that this could be multiple use because we do use it in our yard work with the inmate crews. Our maintenance staff for spreading. This has a snow blower and it has a blade on it. And so to update our equipment that we've been wanting to do to help us with to make it more efficient, and the recent requests also of us, can the inmate crews be also used to help out other agencies? Coming to the courthouse, going to the elections office, or going to the health department in the event they need help, especially if offices are closed. And certainly this piece of equipment can be used for any department, but it would be multiple use. It would be for our inmate crews and our maintenance staff that do the removal of the snow and just general snow removal. Major Phelps did indicate it, and I will be right up front and it's transparent. This is not a cheap piece of equipment. That's why I wanted this to be at least halfway tied to the inmate work crews, to where the inmate wellness account and programming funds would be used towards this. But this is something that we've been looking at years to replace outdated equipment. When we had the city crews and things like that, they no longer have that equipment they give us for city stuff anymore that we were using. So this is something that we thought, with the research, talking what other departments are using, we would allow other agencies to use this. This wouldn't be just, it sits in the, and at one time would be for any snow event, any groundwork that we would be able to use. They do plenty of that and use it on the grounds. The cost is $54,090.53. We have the money in the account, our budgets in both of these to do these. And again, I had Major Phelps. We worked closely with Nelda and on looking at the specs and what she recommended. I'm certainly not passing the buck under her, but I or Major Phelps will stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Brian, as you and I discussed, I'm hesitant to vote in favor of this today. My concern is, how many times is this Kubota going to be used? How much is it going to sit in just not being used, not being idle? If that's what you talked about during your presentation, that you've got equipment that has become defunct just from non-use. And if we're using it for mainly snow removal, we have maybe 1 or 2 major snow events a year. I'm not sure why we haven't gone out for an RFP for snow removal for our facilities, and I think that our facilities manager should be here to weigh in on this. Likewise, as you and I discussed, I'm not convinced that this shouldn't be purchased by Public Works or Parks and Recreation, and then just they come and assist the Department of Corrections when we have, or the facilities when we have major snow events. Now, if we're going to be able to use this Kubota on the work crews as they're doing clearing of ground and mowing, and I know our work crews go out and they clear brush and they do cleanups. If this is going to be used as part of that, and I mean, maybe if all we're going to use it for is the 1 or 2 snow events, to spend $54,000 on this Kubota seems a bit pricey for snow removal. I think we could probably put out a bid for snow removal and save ourselves maybe about $50,000.
I would certainly be more than happy to look at that alternative. The availability of another agency being able to come in. This was discussed in the meeting of Parks and, or not Parks and Rec so much, but for Public Works, and make sure I say this correct, Kurt, that if I take away from Kurt to come to clear the parking lots and stuff at the jail, then that means the county roads will not, and I want to make sure I say that correct, they won't get done. So I do know that when in a major snow event, we have worked with, we will work with the Director of Public Works on staging a Bobcat to help us move the big levels of snow. But the equipment that is broken isn't because of a lack of use, it's because it hasn't been replaced or it breaks for the usage. But I completely understand where you're coming from. It wouldn't just sit idle, it would be used it would be mainly used by the inmate crews and things like that. But I'm certainly happy to speak with Nelda if there is a possibility of looking at an RFP for snow removal and things like that. I'm more than happy that.
In the past, we've tried to use Parks and Recreation to do the maintenance or upkeep of the lawn and the snow removal at the courthouse, and for a variety of reasons that didn't work out. They're just busy moving snow on their own facilities. It's not that they're not team players, it's just there's a lot of work to be done across the county between the parks and the trails and all of the grounds that they have. And so I know that facilities takes care of around the courthouse and some north annex and the health department, but there's just a lot of ground to cover.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe we need to have maybe a bigger discussion than just this Kubota. So, but that's just my position.
Chair.
Yeah.
I have a question on the funding. You have the inmate benefit fund and detention facility. Is that a 50-50 split? Okay.
Yes. We have a program fund that goes to where we generally buy equipment for the inmate funds, programming funds, the TVs and the modules, a lot of these different things. All of that is set aside for the inmate programming. And it would be a 50-50 split, yes.
Okay.
Brian, did you look at any other brands? I mean, John Deere, Polaris. I mean, there's
have
plenty
to.
of options with this, and I don't see any kind of a bid sheet or anything, and so I'm just
It
curious.
was a
if-
state contract, so we
Kansas.
follow the purchasing rules.
It's the state contract.
This is Tim Phelps from Department of Corrections. Again, long before this latest snow event, I was being asked by the people that run the crews to see if we could get a replacement of what we were using because it kept failing. So I started the investigation, and I was already focusing in on the Kubota because all of the, if you go out and do the research, all of the videos and the analyses that you can find on the internet about these various pieces of equipment showed that it had the right combination of strength and reliability to long-term function year after year after year in hard conditions, better than a lot of the John Deere and its competitors. So I would already lean that way. Then we found out two other pieces of information. One was that other departments in Shawnee County had identified either the same model or a slightly smaller version of this model, and this is on state contract, and so we could get a discounted rate for it. So those two kind of pushed it over the edge, and I thought, okay, I can keep bouncing this ball, or I can just make a decision and try to get one that also has additional implements we can put on to increase our activity in the off seasons, the summer seasons, when we're out doing brush removal and such things. This thing can have implements added to it that can do that kind of work too.
Does it come with any of the snowplow or anything like that?
Each of these things are things that you add on, and so we identified those ones that we see that we would use most often at this time of the year, and then we could leave our options open for looking at $2,000 or $3,000, add something that clears brush on the front end of it and that kind of thing.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I would ask that maybe we defer this for a week to maybe work with facilities and audit finance, and just to, again, to make sure that we're covering all our bases, and also to touch bases with Public Works and Parks and Rec before we go out and get this. And it may be very well needed for the work crew. Again, I just want to make sure we've covered all our bases, because this is a kind of a pricey piece of equipment.
It is.
I'm okay with that, are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right. So is that a motion? or-
Motion to defer 1 week.
I'll
Second.
second. Okay, Commissioner Rippon. Motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon to defer for 1 week. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
All right,
Thank you, guys. All right, next item, please.
D, Noxious Weed Department. 1, consider approval to solicit bids for herbicides for the 2025 season.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Landon, Director of the Weed Department. This is just our annual request to solicit bids for herbicides that's sold to the public. About 90% of them sold to the public. The other 10% is what we use in-house to treat right-of-ways throughout Shawnee County. So these chemicals are a vital need to what we do in our office as they're sold by state statute to the residents at a cost share price. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve, and I would not be surprised if prices don't go up.
We are anticipating, while I'm here, we're anticipating prices to increase on 2,4-D products. That's, our vendors have already let us know that going into it, so.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
2, consider approval of contract C36-2025 with Enterprise Fleet Management to lease one Ford F-350 truck with plow and sander utilizing the Master Equity Lease Agreement.
Good morning again, Commissioners. John Landon, Director of the Weed Department. This request is a request to lease a truck from Enterprise using our contract that we have with them. The main reason of this truck is we currently have a 2015 Ford F-150. We find ourselves when we sell a restricted use herbicide to customers and they have it applied by like an agency of J.B. Pearl or the one out of St. Mary's or Perry, something like that. That chemical being restricted, we can't hand off to the customer. It has to be delivered to the applicator since they are the ones that's licensed for it. And so typically how we handle that is we don't run deliveries over to them every single day that somebody comes in. We'll wait. They will go ahead and have that J.B. Pearl apply the chemical and we replace theirs. And so typically we wait till, it's worth going over. And sometimes it's, a couple 100 gallons or maybe a pallet. And so our current F-150 is not strong enough to handle that. So we were looking at other options to do with this truck, and so we're asking to put a plow and sander on it to help with snow removal for our parking lot as well. And so the 2015 Ford that we have is still a great truck, and that truck would be transferred over to the health department to replace their 2005 truck that's in. I hadn't personally seen the truck, but from my understanding, it's in pretty bad shape. It's pretty rusted out. And so it would be equipped with their existing Tommy lift that they have on that 2005 would fit on this 2015 of ours. And so it's still a good truck and it would be utilized by the health department then. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just, Mr. Chairman, Teresa, this 2005, is that part of your environmental services vehicles? I'm assuming it's not for WIC.
Good morning, Teresa Fisher, Director of the Health Department. No, this is actually the truck that we have housed at J.P. Lewis. So this helps transport some of our items that we need to get from J.P. Lewis over to 10th Street, and just when we have larger items. And so it is currently at the North Annex awaiting repairs, and we've gotten the bids for that. And I've chosen at this time, it doesn't seem worth it to invest in those repairs based on it's at the end of its life.
Okay. So it's just going to be a hand-me-down. Parks, or the weed department gets their vehicle, you get their vehicle, and then Purple Wave gets your vehicle.
That would be correct.
Okay. And then, so John, your request is to replace your 2015 vehicle and then also buy a blade and spreader.
Yes, and I would note that the 2005 that the health department is also Nelda's backup plow for facilities. Currently, that 2015 would not handle a plow on it, and so the backup truck for facilities then would become our truck that we're leasing.
Okay.
I hope all that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a question about the choice of leasing rather than purchasing on this. I know we had a situation with one of your other trucks where we had done all the upfitting with the equipment, and then Enterprise asked for the truck back, and we ended up having to, I don't remember what the solution was, we had a couple of options, but it was gonna cost us money to take the new lease. Is that something that we've taken into account here?
It is, and actually, that scenario that you're describing with our leases running out and trading those trucks in and stuff, it really got me having a long-term conversation with Enterprise, whether this was cost-effective for our department with the miles that we put on it or not. And so what we've come to is apparently you can keep those trucks longer than the 5 years on the lease. You just, once it's paid out, then it only costs you a reduced amount. And so moving forward, I believe we'll sign a 5-year lease on everything because that's the terms of what Enterprise does, but we won't surrender that truck until we're ready to. And so I think all of our equipment from moving forward from this point on, even this truck, will probably be a 7 or 8 year truck for us. That way, it still keeps the mileage low, keeps the truck in good condition, kind of eats some of those costs that are unnecessary for just a 5-year term. Again, I don't know, commissioners, when I look at this, I don't know that leasing's still a great deal, but this option makes it a whole lot better for our department, extending that lease out for 7 or 8 years.
Okay. The other question, I know you're planning on using this for multiple things. Pulling the drone trailer, is the F-150 that you have now, is it capable of pulling that?
It is not.
Okay, so this is,
Our intentions were try to use our F-350 spray trucks that we have. I'm a little concerned on the payload of those trucks already. They're right at the payload capacity of them. If we was to be empty, I think the truck would do it and have no trouble. But if a day before or 2 days before we actually mix a full tank, then that's where I think we're gonna run into some troubles. And once it's mixed in our pickups, we have no storage to be able to offload it, store it, and then when we're done, put it back. There's really not a viable option for that. We can't really just mix chemical and then put it outside in another storage tank and then offload it. Then it's got a restricted use pesticide in it that anybody could just tap into or damage the tank and let it leak out. Then we have a spill, and so.
okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Is there a motion?
I would move for approval.
I'll second. Motion by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next item, please.
E, Parks and Recreation. 1, consider approval to solicit requests for proposals from qualified consultant teams comprised of architects, engineers, field services, and other professionals for on-call consulting services to work in conjunction with Shawnee County Parks and Recreation staff and partners.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Bell, Parks and Recreation. This morning, we are seeking approval for permission to solicit on-call consulting services. Our current contracts expire at the end of February, and we would like to continue having those services available for our department, and so we would like to go back out for RFP. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yep, I'll move for approval.
Well, before we do that, I would, if somebody asked me why we're not doing this for the entire county, do we need to look at doing this for all departments? Or, this is something where, we need these services throughout. Is this any appetite to do something like that? Rather than doing it on a department by department basis?
Well, I think there was a request or an inquiry that went out from the Audit Finance Department. I don't know what the response was.
Jennifer Sauer, Financial Administrator. Yes, we did reach out to the commissioners just to see if that was something that you guys wanted us to do. Because our thought was if we're going to lock into a 2-year term, I think, or a 2-year term, if you wanted us to expand this, now would be the time that we would really look at doing that. This only applies to any projects that would be under the threshold to actually go out for an RFP. So this would just be for projects that are like $25,000 or under. So we just didn't know if you guys wanted us to look at doing it countywide. I don't know that it would affect Parks and Rec one way or the other because they're gonna have something in place through this RFP. It would just be a matter if it would make it more, it would make it easier for other departments who had small projects that would fall in this area, like if Public Works or Facilities had something come up that would be a smaller project, they could actually look to these on-call RFP consultants versus having to go out and start from scratch.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't know if I answered your question. Basically, it's entirely up to you guys. If you want us to expand this and make this be countywide, we can. It's just we would need to know before we actually open the RFP.
So I remember maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we had a situation where there was a water main break, and I believe at the time, Public Works used the Parks and Rec on-call contractor to get it fixed or something. It was in a park, but it was, I think it was Gage Park. MCON ended up doing it because it was under 25,000. I don't remember the situation exactly, but can they not share from department to department and reimburse right now?
They wouldn't, I mean, if Parks and Rec, as this was written, it was written to go out to provide the services for our Parks and Rec department. So right now, we don't have any other departments who currently use whoever is on call. It specifically was only opened up for Parks and Rec. But I mean, we can open it up with the intention that it's for Shawnee County, and then the primary people using it would be Parks and Rec. That would, I think, make sense to our department.
And I know that we do have an on-call architect right now that Nelda's used from time to time, right? Isn't?
No, we do not have an
We
on-call
don't?
architect.
Okay. Any of the departments have a need for on-call services? I don't see anybody jumping up out of their seat, so.
I'm gonna say, usually it's not something that's planned.
Right.
This is usually in an emergency, it's in reaction to something that happens. So,
Okay. Well, I think we need to do some discussion on this, maybe for next year. Like, I guess this is a 2-year contract, but perhaps we amend it at a later date if we decide this is something we want to do countywide. Everybody okay with that?
that is fine. I would just say if any department does have a need to do this, please reach out to us and we'll make a note so that we're prepared to know if we want to expand it for the next time it goes out for RFP.
Okay. Sounds good. I would move to approve.
Well, I do have a motion on the
Oh,
floor.
yeah, okay. Motion by Commissioner Cook, I'll second. And those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
2, consider approval to award bid and approve Parks and Recreation to negotiate a contract with Mammoth Sports Construction LLC for the design phase of the 4 new tennis courts at Crossover Tennis Center.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Bell, Parks and Recreation. On November 14th, 2024, we received your permission to go out for RFQ for the design phase at Crossover Tennis Complex to expand or to look into expanding that by 4 courts that would include electrical, sidewalks, lighting, shade, all of that. We had 2 really good proposals. Our department reviewed those proposals along with the Professional Service Committee, and we all agreed that Mammoth Sports Construction would be the most qualified for this project. So we are asking your permission today to move forward with an agreement with them to start exploring the design services, or the design phase of Crossover.
Okay. And then at the time, we had talked about including the resurfacing of the existing courts at the same time. Is that still what's happening?
Yeah, we will gladly include that, yes.
Or would that be part of construction? Would that be the next phase?
This is the design.
Yeah, this is just design.
Oh, this is just design?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I do think there's probably some benefit on getting a cost estimate with
Yeah,
resurfacing.
that would be good.
Because I'm guessing that's gonna be $100,000+ to resurface.
All right.
I would ask that you involve the tennis association when you get into design, just make sure everybody's,
I don't think they're gonna have a choice.
And Commissioner, I should mention too, that we did meet with TTA when we were
Okay.
reviewing these, and they agreed with us as well.
okay, good enough.
Any questions? All right, I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
5, public comment.
I don't have anybody signed up, so next item, please.
6, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications today? Wow.
Huh.
All right.
7,
Commissioner- Well, let's see if Commissioner Cook got anything.
I know, not of me.
Rippon?
Can't think of anything.
All right. Well, I don't have anything either, so next item, please.
7, executive session.
I don't believe we have a need for executive session today. We will have a work session on Monday. We'll have the Topeka Area Sports Commission here to give us a presentation on sports in Topeka. So we're adjourned.